Imagine a world where women toss away their corsets. A revolution in music dances through the streets, and the clinking of cocktail glasses punctuates the night air. Welcome to the Roaring Twenties, an era of transformation, rebellion, and cultural explosion in the United States. But beneath the glamour lies a tapestry filled with myths waiting to be unraveled. Today, we delve deep into the heart of the 1920s, the jazz that ignited souls, the flappers who dared to defy norms, and the prohibition that reshaped a nation. Stay tuned as we untangle the truth from fiction in this captivating era. The 1920s were nothing short of a roller coaster ride in American history. After the end of World War I, the United States found itself at a crossroads. Economic prosperity flourished, cities expanded, and the culture blossomed like never before. But amidst the glitz and glamour, the foundation of American society began to crack. Let's explore the different facets of this fascinating time, starting with the cultural phenomenon known as jazz, the Jazz Age, birth of a new sound. The Roaring Twenties is often referred to as the Jazz Age, a time when music transcended boundaries and brought people together. Jazz had its roots in African American communities, evolving from blues, ragtime, and spirituals. Artists like Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Bessie Smith became household names, creating sounds that resonated with the experience of liberation. But what made jazz more than just a genre of music? It wasn't merely the syncopated rhythms or the improvisational nature. Jazz represented freedom itself. Cities across America became hotbeds for jazz culture. Speakeasies sprang up like wildflowers. Can you picture the dimly lit rooms filled with the scent of smoke and the taste of forbidden drinks? The air pulsated with energy and excitement, allowing ordinary people to escape the mundane reality of post-war life. However, myths seeped into the narrative of jazz. One enduring myth is that jazz music was a negative influence, leading to moral decay. In reality, jazz served as a unifying force, emphasizing community and cultural pride rather than moral disintegration. It was an evolution of cultural blending. You had black musicians and white audiences coming together, challenging societal norms and racial divides, an act of rebellion in its own right. As jazz music cracked open the doors to change, flappers strutted through to claim their place in history. These young women symbolized the new woman of the 1920s, fearless, fashion-forward, and fully embracing their independence. With bobbed hair, shorter skirts, and bold makeup, flappers became icons of freedom. But who were these daring ladies? They were the daughters of suffragists, the women who fought for the right to vote. In gaining that power, they began to redefine their roles in society. Flappers frequented dance halls, drank cocktails, and flaunted their sexuality, often shocking older generations. However, the popular image of flappers may have exaggerated their behaviors. Yes, many flappers enjoyed partying, but not all women of the 1920s were as unrestrained as depicted in the movies. Flappers also faced criticism and misrepresentation. The myth that they were frivolous and solely focused on parties ignores the complexity of their lives. Many worked in offices, becoming the first generations of women to enter the workforce in significant numbers. They balanced careers and social lives, challenging traditional gender roles in ways that would lay the groundwork for future generations. But while jazz and flappers were redefining culture, the United States was undergoing another significant change that would have far-reaching consequences: Prohibition. Enforced by the 18th Amendment in 1920, this nationwide ban on the sale, production, and transportation of alcoholic beverages aimed to reduce crime and corruption. However, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of diminishing the consumption of alcohol, it gave rise to organized crime. Al Capone became synonymous with the era, turning the sale of illegal liquor into a lucrative business. Speakeasies thrived, and instead of quelling social vice, Prohibition led to a flourishing underground economy. Yet, the myth remains that Prohibition was a noble effort to curb lawlessness. In reality, it sparked a surge in lawlessness itself. Americans defied the ban, finding clever ways to obtain alcohol, creating a cat-and-mouse game between law enforcement and citizens. The very people who supported Prohibition found themselves embroiled in the very activities they sought to eliminate. The Roaring Twenties was also a period of significant racial tension and cultural evolution. As jazz flourished, so too did the Harlem Renaissance, a cultural movement centered in Harlem, New York. This era marked an unprecedented flowering of African American art, literature, and music. Figures such as Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and Claude McKay brought African American voices to the forefront, challenging systemic racism and celebrating Black culture. However, some people mythologize the Harlem Renaissance as solely a celebration of Blackness, overlooking the struggles and inequality that continued to exist. In truth, while the Harlem Renaissance marked a cultural awakening, it existed amidst a backdrop of Jim Crow laws, segregation, and violence against African Americans. Yet artists and intellectuals forged ahead, pushing for social equality through their work. Horace McCoy once said, "The way to a person's heart is through the ears." The power of music and art in the fight for equality cannot be understated. The economic landscape of the 1920s was characterized by flowering prosperity, but it was built on shaky ground. The stock market soared as Americans poured their money into stocks, creating a culture of speculation. Newspapers touted stories of everyday people striking it rich, but beneath the surface, a bubble was forming. The myth of endless prosperity loomed large. People believed in the unshakable American dream, a belief that anyone could achieve success. This belief was bolstered by the rise of consumer culture. Advertisements promised a better life through the purchase of goods. Cars, radios, and household appliances became symbols of status and success. Yet, as the decade closed, the reality swiftly changed. In October 1929, the stock market crashed, sending shockwaves through the economy. The dreams of many evaporated, exposing the disparities and vulnerabilities that economic growth had masked. The Roaring Twenties ended in despair. The Great Depression loomed just around the corner. Myths and realities of the Roaring Twenties. As we explore the Roaring Twenties, it's essential to differentiate between myth and reality. The decade was not solely defined by its glitz and glamour. The suspension of morals, often glamorized in film and literature, was more a reflection of societal tensions, rather than an omnipresent ethos. The flappers were not universally representative of all women. Their independence existed alongside other women who fought for change in subtler ways. Interestingly, many myths are still propagated today. People often think of the Roaring Twenties as a time of excess and decadence. However, cultural movements like the Harlem Renaissance and Prohibition's unintended consequences remind us that real stories are complex. As we reflect on the Roaring Twenties, its legacy remains rooted in the American ethos. It was a time of change that paved the way for future generations. The music that filled the air set the stage for cultural revolutions to come. The fight for equality ignited amidst a backdrop of resistance, showcasing the resilience and strength of marginalized communities. Awareness and critique of societal norms took root, providing fertile ground for the civil rights movements that would follow. The Roaring Twenties laid the groundwork for modern America, both its triumphs and its struggles. By understanding this era's complexities, we can better appreciate the world we live in today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Roaring Twenties, where jazz, flappers, and prohibition defined an era. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration of history, subscribe to our channel for more captivating content that separates fact from fiction. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring.